Well. Well, this is it. Here's the thing, this in here, right here, is the new Coros Apex watch. Now, it's the first time a company has ever got in touch with me and said, do you want to test out our product? I said, of course I do, that would be mad to say no. But the good thing here is that I am under no obligation to give it a good review because I have to send it back. That's not saying that I'm not going to give it a good review, by the way. I'm just going to be completely honest because also I am a massive Garmin fan, so it's going to take a lot to sway me from that. Now, admittedly, I don't know anything about the brand Coros or the watch Apex, so I need to do a little bit of research first. So, Coros is a relatively new kid on the block that started in the US in 2016, and the first watch was 2018, and they seem to brand themselves as an outdoorsy company. And this is evident from the type of athlete that they sponsor, because you're just as likely to have a professional climber or mountaineer as you are an ultra runner or a track athlete. So think a type of Phoenix equivalent of the Garmin range, but their big push is on their seemingly insane battery life. And with the Coros Apex Pro currently sitting at around 450 British pounds, I'm intrigued as to what this watch is going to offer. Okay, it's got some good reviews here. This is, first of all, straight away, first thoughts, better watch than I thought I was dealing with. And that is no disrespect to Coros, I just really hadn't heard much from them, but that's because I'm such a Garmin fanboy. But it's off to a positive start, and this is how I'm going to do this review. This is going to be an unboxing, a first impressions. I'm going to take it out for my first run, and that will be this review. But I'm also, at the same time, I'm going to be doing a 4-week review because I have it for 4 weeks, whereas I'm going to wear my Garmin on this side, my Coros on this side, and I'm going to compare as much as I possibly can. So you're going to get 2 reviews for the price of 1, but the second one obviously comes at the end of my time with this Coros. Positive to start with. Now let's have a look at the little critter. Well, first things first, nice colour scheme. I do like the colours, silicone grip. I like the feel of that. But it's what it looks like. I like a chunky watch, and I know I might be in the minority here, but I like something like, I love my Forerunner, and this is an old Forerunner. This is a 920 XT, but I love the square face. That's something I'm really into, and Garmin have not continued, actually. Their upgrades are circular, very much like this Coros, but we'll see what it looks like next to it. And there's a size comparison for you there. So they're around the same size, obviously just square and circular. Big bezels on the side here of the Coros. Much bigger than the kind of hidden away buttons of the Garmin Forerunner 920 XT anyway. The first thing the watch has asked me to do is download the Coros app so that I can scan a QR code on the watch, and it should, in theory, connect to it straight away. So let's see how that works. I'll be honest, that looks cooler as a way of telling time in comparison to that old sucker there, but that's just aesthetics. Okay, we're connected now. I've got Coros right hand, Garmin left hand. I'm going to take them out for a run now. I'm going to see what it feels like, what it looks like, what metrics it gives me on both of these, and then I'm going to charge them up fully and see how long they last together. But I'm going to do that bit, it's going to be on the 4-weeker. So first impressions is I like what I see, good display, that's not as good. However, and this is old by the way, but it is going to have to go some way to knock me off the Garmin train because I do love my Garmin. So let's see what this little sucker is made of. Not literally, I'm not interested in what it's made of. Well, the first thing to note is that the Coros feels bigger on my wrist, feels heavier, but I don't know if that's just because I've never worn a watch on my right wrist before, but I'll have to weigh them when I get home because this feels heavier than the Garmin. That may be completely fabricated though. We'll have to weigh them. All right, let's start off with the most obvious and probably the most important to me while I'm out on the run is the data and how it's presented to me on the screen of the watch. And right now, just finding the way the data is presented on the Coros in comparison to the Garmin is very confusing. You've got 3 bits of information, which are the duration, distance and pace overall, which in itself, that's fine. My Garmin has 4 bits of data, but don't worry about what data's being presented right now because I'm pretty sure when I get back home I'll be able to get the data I want up on this watch, so we won't delve into that too much. But at the moment, the way it's presented is just really confusing. You've got the overall time is just in the bottom bit, really small, hard to read. Then in the middle you've got the pace, and at the top you've got the overall kilometers, and they're all in different sizes. And maybe I've got to switch arms, hang on. And maybe it's just me, but with the Garmin, all of the information given is in 4 squares on the screen. It's really nice and uniform. Maybe that's just my OCD speaking, but I like the way it looks. The Coros data is not presented in a way that I'm enjoying right now. So I need to see when I get back if I can change that. I'm just going to walk a second to show you what I mean. Hopefully you can see that is the Garmin. You've got 4 different bits of data on uniform squares. This is currently the Coros. You've got this middle bit that's phased out at the moment, which is your pace. Then at the bottom you've got the overall time, and at the top you've got the overall kilometers, but they're different sizes. They're not uniform, and it makes that time really difficult to see. So I'll see if we can do something about changing. Actually, the more I look at this and struggle to see the time, I'd go so far as to say that if you don't have very good vision, which I consider myself too, you've got no chance of seeing the time here as it's currently set up. That was even a faff to stop. You've got to unlock the watch before you can stop it on the factory settings. So that was difficult in itself. Whereas with the Garmin, you can just press stop. Let's see what this one weighs. 58 grams. Let's put this one on. 54 grams. So actually, I'm not gonna put this one down as a remarkably heavier watch. It must have been, 4 grams difference is nothing, so it must have purely been because it was on my right wrist, and I'm not used to having watches on my right wrist. But that doesn't solve my main issue of whilst I'm out running, which is what data that you can actually see and how it's presented. So I'm gonna check into that now. Now, before we go into the most important after run experience, which is how for me the data is presented on the app on the phone, I need to have a look at, can I change the data screens on here? I've already looked and the answer is yes, and it might actually be easier than how you do it on the Garmin. From what I gather, you just go on the app, you scroll, you go to the clock interface, workout data. So how do I want it displayed? You can actually choose how you want it to look. I want the data screen that you can see in front of you, so I want for maybe average heart rate. I don't know. Let's go with that. Let's say yeah. The thing is, I don't tend to switch between pages whilst I'm running. That's too much faff. I want everything that I need for the run on that one page. So now I have that. Save. Okay. So the Coros app does present the data in quite a eye-catching way, quite a pleasing way. You've got all sorts of data on that front screen, so you don't have to scroll or tap into anything. You've got the overall run, pace, cadence, stride length, running power, elevation, heart rate zones, training effect, and then your kilometer splits, all on that front page. That is a nice way to display the data. There's no doubt it's quite pleasing to my eye because I have colour OCD. Even my t-shirts, when they're in my cupboard, they are actually in stacks of colour. That's embarrassing to admit, but that is me. I do like colours. So yeah, the data is quite nicely presented on the Coros app. I've never really liked the Garmin app for the way that the data is presented, if I'm honest. I usually use Training Peaks anyway, so this is all a little bit academic for me because whether it came from Coros or whether it came from Garmin, I would use Training Peaks more predominantly than anything else. But it's nice to know that this is quite a nice way of presenting all the data. Let's have a look at Garmin. Alright, so first thing you notice straight away with Garmin is that it is different pages you'd have to see for different metrics. The first one being just the workout there with your overall distance and time. And then if you click onto the next one, it does go into a little bit more detail, like the pace, the speed, the timing, the heart rate. But what I'm noticing straight away is certainly, here we go. I mean, that's quite a nice little page in terms of pleasing to the eye, but it's tucked away out of sight. And maybe if Garmin put that on the front page, then you're more inclined to have a look and go, "Oh, that's quite eye-catching." But as it stands, I would say Coros probably take the win on that one, on the how the app is presented. So I'd say early impressions, first impressions. That's what this is all about. Unboxing, having a look at this. Probably talking a score draw here if we were talking football sense, because this did feel heavier on my wrists, but as we've established, it's only 4 grams heavier, and I don't really care about the weight anyway. It just felt a little bit bulkier. But you can set up the data fields how you want them. Just maybe too many options for me, and I want to be able to customize what my screen looks like exactly. I just want 4 data fields split 4 ways, and this can't do that. But then you go into the app and the data is so much better presented on the app for Coros than it is Garmin. And like I say, I use Training Peaks, so, you know, is that really important? Who knows? These are just my first impressions, my first thoughts. Now, what I'm going to do now is wear this, charge it fully, charge this one fully, have them both on my wrist for the next 4 weeks. Now bear in mind, this is like 6 or 7 years old, so in theory the battery should have taken a hit a little bit. This should last longer, but we'll see. And I'm gonna just do a comparison when I go on the bike, when I go on a run. I'm gonna try and mark everything over the next 4 weeks and come up with a little bit more in-depth review about how this really performs over time. But initial impressions, for the price point, it looks a pretty decent watch. Like I say, aesthetically pretty pleasing, but I do like square watch. I mean, that is just me, but not a bad start. Coros Apex Pro, well done. Let's see what you got in 4 weeks, shall we?